Hi friends, it's me Jen at Snapdragon Quilting, and today I want to talk to you about choosing color for your quilt. It's easy to pick a quilt pattern that we want to work with because we're drawn to the colors. Color is so important when making a quilt. And the reasoning is that it brings about emotion. You know, we're all drawn to quilt colors and the emotions that those bring. So today I want to talk to you about different ways that I like to use to choose those colors that I'm going to put into my next project. This is my absolute favorite way. I love big prints, and big prints often use quite a few colors in them. And so starting with that big print for your inspiration is a great way. And then as you can see on the side, I've pulled out the different color blocks from that print, and that can help choose coordinating prints. If you look at the selvage of a fabric, oftentimes it has those different colors printed as single dots or shapes. And those are good ways to see those colors isolated so you can find matching fabrics. Of course, if you find a big print, oftentimes it comes with fabrics that already coordinate. So using a fabric line is a great way to really get a project started. Another option is to be inspired by a product. And it might be silly to say, you know, macaroni and cheese, but look at those things around you in your house or when you're out shopping and see, because marketing teams know what colors look good together, and they've intentionally put these colors together to make the product pop, to draw your attention in so that you'll be interested in the product. So open your eyes. This is a great trick. I also love to use Pinterest, and Pinterest has a million of these photos, and people have already pulled the colors out for you. Just search color palettes on Pinterest. I was drawn to this one because I love blue, I love green, but I also love the outdoors. And this photo just sings to me. And so it would be really fun to make a quilt in these colors, at least for me. I would love to do this. And quick story here. When I was a kid, blue and green, favorite colors, hands down. But then into my early 20s, I started long arm quilting for others. And I saw so many quilts use color combinations that I never would have chosen. And it really opened my eyes to appreciate how color can change things or change quilts, and how beautiful different combinations can look together. And that's one benefit of using these color cards is you might see a photo of a sunset and you're like, I hate pink, I would never use pink. But then when you see it with the oranges and the blues and some yellows, you might change your mind and actually want to make a quilt in those colors. So if you haven't before, head over to Pinterest and check out color palettes. Or you can always take a photo that you love too and pull the colors out of it. Another great way is to just go to the quilt shop with an open mind. So this is my groovy quilt that I wrote a pattern for. And when I wrote this pattern, I had no idea what fabric I was going to put into it. But I took my idea and I drove down to my local quilt shop, and I just walked in looking for something that screamed retro. And I found that orange print, this one right here that's behind the peace sign, and I just knew it was the one. And then the nice thing about this fabric is it had little green centers in the white flowers, and so it was easy to choose a green fabric that coordinated. And of course, we all know avocado green and burnt orange were great colors from the past, and so it worked really well in this quilt. So sometimes just go to the quilt shop and say, hey, I'm looking for a floral, and see which floral speaks to you. And then, of course, another great way is to stretch yourself by being challenged. And so this is a challenge of the fabrics. It's missing one, but 5 of the 6 fabrics for the Wyndham Challenge by the Modern Quilt Guild. This is a challenge that they are doing right now for QuiltCon for next year, and so you can submit a quilt made with these fabrics. This is a good way to push yourself out of your comfort zone and see how colors work together. Another great way is to participate in a swap in your quilt guild, because in the swap you're going to want to make the challenge, the swap challenge, in the colors of the person you're making that project for, and those are colors that you may not necessarily have chosen for yourself. So this is another awesome way to choose colors, is just move out of your comfort zone, try a challenge. There's lots online too that you can participate in. And then last but not least, of course, when we're thinking about color, we also have to remember that quilts need contrast, and some quilts need more than others. This is a picture of a mock-up that I did for my fenced-in quilt. And you can see in those rail fence blocks, if there wasn't contrast, we would lose the movement of those blocks. If those colors were all very similar in value or in saturation, then these blocks would just lose their interest. And so it's always a good idea when you've got an idea for what colors you want to use, get your coloring pencils out or your crayons out. And I like colored pencils because you can add varying shades of saturation and start coloring those colors together and see what you think. I also like to take the stack of fabrics that I've picked out, put them up on a table somewhere, and go stand back. And if you stand back and look, you can see if you've got any or enough contrast in those fabrics. Another trick is to take a picture with your phone and then take all the color out, make it a black and white, and see if there's contrast in those fabrics. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation about color. I hope this inspires you to try new things and find color everywhere around you. Happy quilting!